That morning, the clouds hung low like a damp cloth draped over the forest's edge, and the rescue compound sat tucked among old trees that seemed to breathe slowly, leaf against leaf, whispering. The air smelled of wet earth, of newly cut grass, and of something faintly briny worry, the kind of scent you only notice after you've stood close to a life that was just dragged back from the brink. Babu stood at the feeding station. There was nothing remarkable about it. A low wooden trough, a few split stalks of sugarcane, peeled bananas, and a bit of mash mixed with tender leaves. On previous days, the moment footsteps sounded at the path's mouth, Babu's ears would twitch, its small trunk swaying as if welcoming a gift. But today, it remained still. Its front legs slightly bent, caught between stepping forward and retreating, heavy breaths coming in short, uneven pulses, eyes darting no longer the curious gaze of a healthy young one, but the look of a creature trying to predict whether the world was about to fall on it again. Babu moved closer, head lowered, trunk reaching, then froze. It touched the banana the way one touches something hot, and immediately it stepped back, a small sound rising in its throat, not quite a cry, more like a thin, trembling moan stretched into the air. At the edge of the scene, Liam appeared. He didn't walk straight in. Liam stayed at a distance that let Babu see him without feeling cornered, shoulders slightly angled, arms loose at his sides, his expression a strange kind of focus, quiet, unshowy, like someone who understands that some fears shatter into 1,000 pieces at the slightest loudness. Liam had watched Babu survive. He'd seen it endure physical danger, seen nights of fever that made its small body tremble like a leaf in rain, seen veterinary checks and needles that left its eyes wet. People like to say, once the worst is over, it's fine. But Liam looked at Babu now and knew. Sometimes the danger no longer lives in the wound, but in something invisible, a storm inside, turning hunger into suspicion, food into a trap. And in that moment, a question rose like a thorn in his chest. After being saved, why was Babu refusing to eat? Babu tried again. This time, its trunk moved more slowly, as if testing the ground before placing a foot. It sniffed, then startled, ears flared, eyes widened, hind legs sinking slightly. It backed away, and this retreat wasn't cautious anymore. It was frightened, the step of a young one once swallowed by darkness, now made wary by even an unfamiliar scent. No one else was there. No calls, no hurried arms, only Liam, and the way he let distance become a promise. I'm here, but I won't force you. Liam shifted, very lightly, as though afraid to spill a full cup. Babu stared at him, stared long enough that its black eyes didn't just reflect Liam's slim figure, but the doubt inside its own body. Liam stopped and waited, letting Babu regain control of its heartbeat. He exhaled slowly on purpose, letting the sound be heard, calm breathing, a simple signal a frightened young animal could mirror. Babu didn't eat, but it trembled a little less. It was a change so small a person could miss it, unless they were trained to see survival measured in millimeters. An ear that twitched less, a blink that slowed, a breath that lengthened. Liam noticed, and inside him a thin thread tied itself to that fragile anchor point. The first days after the crisis had been a chain of tiny reliefs. Babu drank water. Babu stood steady. But today, at the trough, Liam understood recovery wasn't a straight line. It was spirals around an old weak place. Babu had passed the physical danger, yes, but stress, smoldering like embers under ash, was pulling it away from the most basic need. If Babu stopped eating, everything they'd done would be threatened, like a house built on soft ground. Liam didn't say this aloud, saying it might only make the fear bigger. He only watched. Babu stepped closer, then back, made small sounds, glanced around, then back at Liam. The young one seemed to ask with its whole body, "Am I safe? Will I be abandoned? If I eat, does that mean I have to trust again?" Liam took one slow step toward the trough, then stopped. Babu watched. Liam took another half step. Babu didn't panic. Liam understood. He had become an anchor, not because he was stronger, but because Babu had seen him in the darkest hours, had heard his footsteps in the night, had felt his patient presence like a blanket over cold. But Liam also understood something sharper, hidden like a blade. If it stayed like this, Babu would never be okay on its own. A young one couldn't grow up by always needing a person in sight. Independence sometimes begins with the smallest thing, eating without anyone standing beside you. So the goal wasn't simply, get it to eat. The goal turned into a harder question. How could Babu eat again, without depending on Liam, forever? Liam looked at the food, then at Babu. In his mind, flickered all the correct methods: change the menu, enrich nutrition, check health, reduce stimulation. But he knew today's problem wasn't the banana. It was the feeling. Babu wasn't refusing food, it was refusing a world it hadn't dared to trust again. He crouched slowly by the trough, careful not to stare too hard, and picked up a piece of banana, an ordinary gesture made absurd by the heaviness of the moment, as if he were about to perform for an audience that only knew how to tremble. Babu held its breath. It stood still, eyes still darting, but it didn't retreat. And then Liam did what reason alone wouldn't suggest. He didn't force, didn't coax, didn't use human urgency to defeat animal fear. Liam acted. He raised the banana to his mouth and ate painfully, slowly, as if tasting every thread of sweetness. Then he exaggerated, so delicious, just enough eyes wide, brows lifted, lips pressed like he was holding back an amazed sound, his body swaying faintly, as if sweetness could soften the world. The humor was gentle, quiet, enough to crack the ice without breaking the tone. Then Liam set his hand down beside the trough and leaned back, giving space clear signal. Safe. I'm not competing. Babu watched him. In that gaze, something shifted, like a lake when the wind eases, still rippled, but beginning to reflect the sky. The young one extended its trunk, slow, very slow. This time it held the banana longer, for the length of a heartbeat, then brought it to its mouth. The first bite was an experiment. The second was a concession. By the third, Liam heard the tiny chewing sound and felt his chest tighten with an emotion he hadn't expected to be so powerful. No one clapped, no one cheered. Only the sensation of being saved a second time, not from mud, not from injury, but from panic, from the fear that turned hunger into danger. Liam stayed there, far enough, quiet enough. He let Babu eat the way one lets a small flame catch on dry wood without blowing it out. When Babu chewed, ears easing, eyes slowing, Liam finally felt his own lungs loosen, as if he'd been holding his breath for it all morning. But just as relief began to bloom, another worry slipped in, like a shadow of cloud moving over the ground. Because Liam knew, the safety Babu had just touched still clung to his presence. And when Liam shifted his posture, his outline tilting slightly, Babu lifted its head immediately. Searching like someone looking for a landmark in fog. Liam saw it, and his heart sank. If half a step was enough to make Babu look up today, what would happen tomorrow, when he truly had to leave its sight? Babu chewed one more bite, then stopped again, head raised, eyes clinging to Liam like clinging to shore. And a small, cold mini-hook formed in Liam's mind, clear as a snapped twig. The moment Liam disappears, Babu stops again. Noon arrived as a thin layer of sun laid over the forest's back, nothing harsh, but enough to warm the earth, releasing the scent of damp soil and healing wounds, and memories that still hadn't dried. Babu had eaten a little, just a little. But for a young one whose fear had squeezed it so tightly it forgot hunger, a little could be a miracle. Liam had sighed in silent relief, the kind you don't dare let out loud. Afraid sound might break what's fragile. But fragility has its own way of reminding you it isn't peace yet. Liam stepped away briefly, not far, not leaving entirely, only to the other side of the fence line where the trees cast thicker shade, to fetch water, check a latch, steady himself. He didn't vanish. He was still there. But for Babu, distance wasn't measured in meters. It was measured in sight. When Liam slipped out of that familiar edge of vision, Babu snapped its head up. The trunk paused mid-air like a sentence cut in half. Ears flared, eyes turned wild and quick, as if it heard again the sucking sound of mud from some corner of memory. It looked around, and the smallest trembling returned, not loud, but unmistakable, like a tight string pulled. Babu stopped eating. It backed away from the trough, step by step, as if retreating from an invisible cliff. A small sound rose in its throat, and Liam, even from where he was, heard it like an unspoken plea. He returned immediately, but he didn't run. Running could worsen everything. He moved fast, but kept his body low, his breathing even. So when he reappeared, he brought no gust of panic with him. Babu saw Liam, and as though a knot had been loosened, its shoulders dropped slightly. It stopped retreating. It didn't eat right away, but the mist-thin trembling eased. Liam didn't smile. He didn't scold himself loudly either. Inside him there was a feeling difficult to name, tenderness, worry, and the sense of being tied into a thread he didn't want to pull too tight. He understood. The anchor he'd become, saving Babu from panic, could also become a cage if it taught Babu to live only when he was present. Some rescues come with a price. Dependence. Liam waited. When Babu looked back at the trough, he did the sample eating again, softer this time, less exaggerated, as if learning to shift from emergency performer to fading shadow. He chewed slowly, set his hand down, then leaned back. Babu tried again, few bites. A little. The rhythm returned, but its eyes couldn't leave Liam for long. It ate with its mouth, but survived with its gaze. Liam watched and felt the question, how do I get it to eat? Deepen into something harder. How do I help it trust without needing me? Day 2. Morning fog lay white like cotton over the grass around the feeding station. Babu came out, looked at the trough, looked around. Liam stood where he had stood yesterday. Not too near, not too far. His presence stayed steady like a heartbeat, something to lean on without being pressed. Babu approached and ate. Liam didn't celebrate. He observed. Babu ate, yes, but whenever Liam shifted, whenever he moved even slightly aside, Babu lifted its head, searching. It ate and watched, as if fear had built a rule inside it. And when Liam tried a tiny test, stepping out of sight for just a moment, Babu stopped as if someone had turned it off. It backed away. It froze. Its breathing quickened. Panic returned so fast it was frightening, as if yesterday's bites had never happened. Liam stepped back into view. Babu continued eating. A rule became painfully clear. Babu only eats when Liam is within sight. Liam stood there and felt another fear rise deeper and longer than the fear of Babu skipping meals. The fear that his kindness and patience were teaching the wrong lesson, that safety was a person rather than a state. He remembered the nights Babu ran fevered, eyes glazed, and Liam sat there doing nothing but existing nearby. That presence might have saved Babu from feeling abandoned, but now that same presence could keep Babu from ever stepping out of shadow. He wondered, if one day he couldn't be there, if another rescue call pulled him away, what would happen? Babu would go hungry, it would weaken, and everything might slide back down the slope. He looked at Babu and saw in its eyes not only fear but a wordless clinging. "Don't go," the gaze said. "Don't leave me alone with what I still don't understand." And in that moment, Liam understood. If he truly cared, he had to learn to step back, not from boredom, not as punishment, but like removing training wheels from a bicycle. Let the young one wobble a little, let it find balance, but how to step back without shattering it. He couldn't disappear suddenly. He couldn't teach by cutting off abruptly. For a young one already overwhelmed by the world, losing again could be a fatal blow. Liam needed a path. Small steps like leaf-made stairs each could tear, but taken in rhythm, they could cross the stream. Day 3 arrived as the first test of that plan. Liam still appeared, but he reduced the acting. No more exaggerated delicious face, no more movements meant to trigger gentle laughter. He was simply there, ordinary as a tree. Babu came, looked at Liam, then at the trough. It ate. At first it still lifted its head often, but after a few bites, the checks grew less frequent. Liam noticed Babu chew through a longer stretch without glancing at him, and his chest tightened with quiet emotion. It was trying to live by its own hunger. Day 4. Liam stood farther, only 1 or 2 steps, but for Babu, it was new emptiness. Babu paused, ears flaring, eyes darting. It looked at Liam. Liam didn't advance. He relaxed his shoulders, loosened his hands, kept his face calm like still water. Babu stood a long time, weighing hunger against fear. Then it moved forward. It ate slowly. It paused, but it didn't quit. It sniffed, chewed, glanced up, then chewed again. Each bite seemed to ask, "If I eat without you close, will something happen?" Each time nothing happened, a small stone in its heart was set down. Liam stood there and felt a sting. the sting of having to restrain the instinct to rush in. He wanted to step closer, to praise it, to say good job in the human way. But he knew praise and proximity could break a new lesson forming. He stayed still like a lamp placed far enough to guide the lost, but not so close the lost forget to walk. Just when Liam began to believe they were moving forward, Babu stopped again mid-meal, head rising, searching as if it heard a sound only it could hear. It looked to Liam, eyes wide. Liam didn't shift. He only leaned slightly, a tiny reassuring gesture. Babu hesitated, then lowered its head and ate again. A small victory, but in recovery, small victories are the only reliable ones. Liam exhaled softly, afraid even breath might ripple the lake. In his mind, new milestones formed hopeful and frightening. Day 5, he would stand even farther. Day 6, he would be only a thin outline at the edge of vision. And beyond that, Day 7, he would not appear at all. The question wasn't only about food, it was about freedom. Day 5 began with an oddly clear morning, when fog was no longer thick like cotton but light like breath, and sunlight slid through the canopy in long bands, touching the ground like fingers searching a path. The feeding station remained unchanged, same place, same smell, same shape of promise. But one thing was different. Liam stood farther away. So far Babu had to tilt its head to see him. The young one stepped out, paused at the path, ears twitching. It looked at the trough, looked around, then fixed on Liam, no longer crisp and central, only a faint figure, a familiar outline standing still in the light. The pause was long enough for old fear to surface like a fish breaking water. Babu stood rigid, breathing short, trunk touching the ground. Liam didn't move. He knew, if he stepped forward now, the leaf staircase they'd built could collapse in a soundless, painful fall. He let silence do its work. Let hunger speak. Little by little, to fear. Babu took one step, then stopped. It looked again as if asking, "Are you still there?" Liam stayed where he was, a tiny nod, nearly not a nod, only the softening of shoulders. Babu took another step. It reached the trough. It lowered its head. Its trunk touched the food, and this time the touch didn't flinch. It ate slowly, very slowly. Sometimes it stopped, ears quivering. Liam stood far, a stable landmark without intrusion, and then Babu lowered its head and ate again. Liam felt his chest loosen and ache at once, the ache of watching someone you love learn to tolerate discomfort for the sake of freedom. It was an ache no one teaches you. It arrives only when you understand love isn't always staying close. Day 6 came quietly, like a visitor who doesn't knock. That morning, Liam didn't stand in the old place. He retreated to the edge of the scene where trunks partly hid him, where Babu could see him only by searching, half hidden, half present, like a reminder that the world doesn't always offer what you need plainly. Babu stepped out and immediately registered the difference. It paused longer, turned its head more, released a small sound, as if calling someone but unsure anyone would hear. The trough sat there, calm and innocent, but Babu looked at it like a new test. Liam felt his heart pound not from fear of failure, but from fear of the moment he must not intervene. He stood still, arms loose, gaze softened so it wouldn't pressure Babu. He let time stretch, like loosening a thread so it wouldn't snap. Babu inhaled. It walked to the trough. It ate. This time the rhythm was nearly normal. It didn't lift its head after every bite. Only occasionally, out of a habit not yet shed, it glanced toward the edge where Liam stood. Each glance that found him, though, far settled something. Then Babu lowered its head and ate again. Liam realized he was witnessing something fragile but real. Babu was no longer eating because of him, but eating beside his fading existence. That difference, for a young one who once panicked at hunger itself, was a kind of growth. That afternoon, as light changed color and the forest slowed its breathing, Liam sat alone and thought about tomorrow, Day 7. The day he would not appear. The thought dried his throat. Not because he doubted Babu, but because he doubted himself. Did he have the courage not to be there? Knowing his presence could make things easier? Humans are good at rescuing. We are not always good at letting go. That night Liam slept lightly. He dreamed of Babu at the trough, searching, not finding, and panic rising like cold wind. He woke with his heart racing and sat up a long time, reminding himself, a dream is a dream, and growth, for both people and animals, comes with sleepless nights. Morning of Day 7 arrived without fanfare. The feeding station was set exactly as always. Same place, same smell. The world held steady so that if anything changed, it would come from inside Babu, not from outside. Liam did not appear. He stood very far away, fully hidden behind old trunks, where Babu would not see him unless it truly searched. He was there, and also not there, a paradox only those who love deeply understand. He let the forest, the light, and the silence do their part. Babu stepped out. It stopped mid-path, looked around, ears flared more than usual. A small sound rose, meant for no one in particular. It stood so long the world seemed to hold its breath. The young one turned its head, searching. No Liam in sight. For a moment, everything tightened. Babu stood alone before the trough, facing a choice it had never faced in full. Eat or let fear decide. It stepped back half a step, then stopped. It inhaled, longer and deeper than before, as if calling up something from within, not panic memory, but the accumulated days. Each meal with Liam farther and farther away. Each time fear wasn't answered by the world collapsing. Babu stepped forward. It reached the trough, lowered its head, and began to eat alone. Not hurried, not startled, not lifting its head at once to search. It ate as if its hunger, for the first time in a long while, was allowed to be simply hunger, not a reason to cling. Liam, far away, felt his throat tighten. He watched through gaps between trunks, and he did not step out. He did not call. He did not break what was forming. After Babu had eaten a while, it lifted its head and looked around, searched, and very far away, very faint, only a shadow that refused to approach. Liam let himself be seen for a breath, not to pull Babu back to him, but to confirm, "You did it." Babu saw him. Its ears trembled. Then it lowered its head and kept eating. No more signals needed, no more acting. A small freedom had formed, quiet as grass after rain. Liam didn't disappear to punish. Liam stepped back, so Babu could grow up. That afternoon of day 7 moved slowly, as if even the forest knew to walk softly around something newly placed down. Sunlight tilted into a deeper gold, touching trunks, ground, and the feeding station where Babu had completed a task that seemed small but weighed like an entire journey. Babu didn't eat everything. It didn't have to. It only needed to eat enough for the body to remember hunger could be answered without panic. When it finished, it stood a while, trunk resting on the ground, ears relaxed, eyes no longer darting. It looked around, but the looking had changed. It wasn't desperate searching anymore. It was observation, as if the world was finally allowed to appear without threat. Liam remained far away. He didn't step out even though his heart filled with things he wanted to do. Approach, touch Babu's forehead, confirm with his hand that it was real. But he understood this moment didn't need a witness. Growth, watched too closely, can shrink from shyness. Liam chose to let Babu keep its first victory for itself. Evening came with the forest's familiar sounds, insects beginning their chorus, wind moving through leaves in thin waves. Babu lay down, not pressed tight to the fence like the early days, not curled too tightly. It lay like a creature tired but calm, breathing evenly, small body rising and falling with life returned. Liam watched from afar and felt a gentle emptiness, the emptiness of someone who has completed something that will not be repeated the same way again. He knew, from tomorrow on, Babu wouldn't need him beside the trough. And because of that, he could finally rest easy. The days after held no dramatic climax. Babu ate steadily. Some days it still glanced around before eating, an old habit not yet faded, but it didn't stop. Some days it ate without lifting its head at all. Liam sometimes appeared, sometimes didn't. When he did, he stayed like part of the landscape, no longer the center of safety. And Babu, somehow, accepted that as natural. Liam realized the hardest part of rescue work isn't pulling someone out of danger, it's knowing when to withdraw your hands. Saving a life can be a moment. Letting go is a process. One morning, Liam watched Babu eat from far away, and suddenly remembered the first day Babu standing at the trough, breathing heavy, eyes darting. The world shrunk into an unnamed fear. He remembered the tightness in his chest when the young one couldn't lower its head, as if lowering it meant accepting too great a risk. Compared to that day, today Babu simply ate. No heroism, no miracle, no music cue at the right time. just a small creature choosing to trust that its hunger deserved to be heard. Liam turned away before Babu lifted its head, not because he didn't want to be seen, but because he understood. Some things are most beautiful when no one is watching. He walked toward deeper forest, where other work waited, carrying a lesson he knew would stay with him. Helping someone stand up is an act. Helping them stand steadily on their own is a choice. And somewhere among the old trunks, Babu chewed slowly, unaware it had taught a human something about faith. That safety doesn't always come from holding tight, sometimes it comes from knowing exactly when to let go. If this story touched something in you, please like to support, share to spread it, subscribe so you don't miss the next healing journey, and comment to tell us about a moment when you had to learn to let go because you cared.